To have a brief bio about him, there is so much to talk about him, but I will just quickly introduce and then I will lead over him to talk about more. So he has been in the tech industry for the past 24 years, and he has a diverse experience of working in more than 100 companies over the span of 10 different countries. Companies include PeopleSoft, Oracle, Dell, Vmware, to name a few. So today he will be talking about some challenges and opportunities in terms of your journey and how you can pursue your career in terms of cybersecurity, what challenges and future challenges you have to overcome. So we are thankful to Sarbjeet for taking time out and giving your talk. So just to add one more thing, it will be after the talk a little bit Q&A session as well. So we will be giving you guys time to come up with your questions and what things you have in your mind and what questions you have regarding technology now and then. Thank you. Over to you, Sarbjeet.
Thanks, Maya. Good morning, guys. This is Sarbjeet. Thank you for actually coming on Saturday in the morning. It was tough for me to get up in the morning and come here also. So I'm not early either. It was like 8 o'clock my time on the West Coast. And today, actually, I'm here to talk to you guys about the opportunities in the software / high-tech field. What are the emerging technologies? We will talk about that. We'll talk about the bigger picture first. Actually, I have like 5 different sections in my presentation. I want you guys to tell me which one I should focus on more. So with the raise your hand when I say these topics. So I'll talk about the bigger picture, how the things are kind of at a high level. That's one thing, which I will cover anyway. So a thinking framework, actually, how you should think about your career and industry. I will cover that. Like, who is willing to hear about that? Okay, that's good. Lay of the land, like how the industry is laid out, like what kind of companies are out there, and big companies, small companies, ISVs, what are the different or personas of the companies? Do you guys want to hear about that also? Right. And the career advice, actually, that's one section I have on the career advice, like what can be good stuff for you guys to like think about. And technology trends in the industry, I will cover that. I will try to keep it short, but it will be hard for me to keep it short because I mostly talk about that stuff. And in the beginning, I will tell you about my story, and I hope that can inspire some of you guys, and like, I'll tell you why. So with that, let's get started. Okay. So protocols for next but 45 minutes or so I will present, and after that we can go into Q&A. And I would love to have more Q&A time than just me presenting, because you're all smart individuals, and I don't have any extra knowledge actually from the field point of view. Like, you can Google stuff and find out stuff, right? But if I can answer some of the questions, like how we conduct business in real industries and what happens out there, that'd be good. So, and actually, crowd is small, so it means like we're not hundreds of people. Raise your hand any moment you have a question. Actually, we can answer that during the presentation also. So my story, actually, I am from Punjab, India. I came to US in '95. I'm from a small village. You have some, I just see some Punjabis here. So I'm from Jalandhar district, and farming family, a small village. And I am not a CS major, but I have built a lot of systems. So I did a major in economics, and after that, I was doing some research. And while I was doing the research, I was like analyzing the data in India, back in India, in Chandigarh, right? So at that point, I got introduced to programming and computers, you can say, and it was like, as compared to other folks in the field, it was pretty late in the game, like after my master's. So I was pursuing my PhD during that time in economics when I started playing with computers. And in the meantime, I came to US and and started my career as a programmer at AT&T GIS in Chicago, working at McDonald's headquarters. So that was my first job. So after that, actually, I never looked back. I still wanted to finish my PhD here, but I had that sort of stuff in my mind that I want to finish that because I was very passionate about it, but I never finished it. So I kept on going in this career, and then I joined Visa full time, and then after that I joined Commerce One. We went public, made a lot of money. That was fun during .com days, and then that .com era, .com busted, so companies went down. Some of you guys must have read the history. For you guys, it's all history. I lived it, so and learned a lot of lessons from there, and then. After Commerce One, I joined a company called PeopleSoft, which was bought by Oracle, and that one I left and went to EMC, and then from EMC I went to Vmware as full-time employee. From Vmware I went to Rackspace, and Rackspace to Oracle back doing cloud stuff. So for the last about 12 years I've been in cloud computing, mostly data centers, applications, cloud computing. First 10 years, 12 years I would say, I wrote a lot of software as a programmer in the beginning, and then after that I kind of grew into the roles like tech lead, and then leading product developments for like multiple products and so forth. So my last full-time gig was at Oracle, senior director of cloud architecture in their global alliances group. So after that, actually I invested money into an incubator, which is like a startup school in the Bay Area. So, and living in the Bay Area, you cannot avoid startups, right? So I wanted to play that game, and then I left Oracle, and we have taken about 100 startups through that program so far, and it has been fun, but it has its own challenges as well. So if you guys have any questions about the startups, let me know. We can cover that in Q&A section. So that's what my story is. The main thing I want to highlight from that is like being from a small village and not knowing what computers were and getting into computers later. It didn't stop me from doing this stuff. So you guys are way ahead in that sense. Like you guys are like digital natives, what we call you guys. So it should be sort of damn easy for you guys. It's not tough stuff, it's very easy. But the main thing is what we will cover here, like how you should conduct your career and what works and how you should think about it. So we'll cover the basics first, high-level stuff. And it turns out that abstraction is what makes us the most intelligent species on this planet. So humans are most intelligent, we call that. I always question that. Maybe ants are more smarter than us, but I don't know, right? We don't know. But actually, we humans value abstraction a lot. Everything we build around us is abstraction. Religions are abstractions. Countries are abstractions. The university is an abstraction, and there are layers of abstractions everywhere, right? And that goes into the next thing, which is systems thinking. So everything around us is like a system. So if you think in those terms, like our body is a system, a city is a system, and this room is a system, right? It opens up so many ways for you to think about like how systems behave and how they work. Mainly in systems, there are two types of things that can impact a system: internal factors or external factors, right? So internal factors which are controllable within the room here, we can control it. And for example, if room is a system, outside weather we cannot control, or like something happening on the road we cannot control, right? So when you think about anything but as a system, that actually opens up your mind with like faster to think about how you should build it, how you should protect it, and so forth, right? I know that it was said that we will cover more like a InfoSec, right? Security aspect of things and systems. I will cover that, and I will also cover cover most of the other stuff at the same time. Security actually today is woven into every sort of facet of the system building. It's not like afterthought. Actually, it used to be, but we're trying to change that as we go. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So system thinking actually helps. I have a lot of slides. I will breeze through those, most of those, and stop me at any time you have any questions, right? So another thing, these are the bigger concepts, kind of thing, right? So another thing is like every company, every country, every like nation, you can call it, or group of people, or any place actually. There are three types of things in there. There are people, processes, and products. Products can be, if you are a auto company, your products are cars, for example. If you're a high-tech company, your products can be software, right? If you're a shoe company, your product is shoe, right, for example. And your people and processes are always there. The third thing is changes from company to company, from vertical, what we call vertical to vertical. There are different verticals in the industry, like autos, healthcare, education, and so forth, right? So always keep in mind there are three things at play, and your job is when you're building systems is to keep in mind that there are three things we have to think through. And we have like concluded, like all people who practice technology in the industry, that technology is the easiest thing to change. The processes are hard to change. Like how we do stuff is hard to change. Like how for us, habits are hard to change. For companies, it's the same thing. Like how you process a purchase order or how you admit a student into a university, that thing is hard to change. Like it takes a lot of time. You have to like create new forms or new websites these days or new ways of interaction. And the people seems like they will be easiest to change, but they are harder than processes to change. We don't want to change as humans. We don't want to change our behavior. So that I have seen that time and again. When it was mentioned that I have worked with 100 companies, more actually it's like around 200 through my employers. When I was working at EMC and Oracle, I would travel to all over the world and work with these companies. That I found was the hardest part. Convincing people to change the way they do things is very hard. So keep that in mind. So you have to focus on people when you go out there in the field. You cannot just focus on technology only. You have to also look at the processes, existing processes, how they do stuff and all that stuff, right? So keep that in mind. This actually question comes to my mind all the time, and actually you can Google it and you will find 50 definitions out there. What is technology anyways? Let me ask you guys, anybody wants to define what technology is? Anybody?
I feel that something that brings our idea forward.
Okay.
It's a way to implement our ideas.
Anybody else? Yes? Yeah.
Replacing human work?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, actually, in simple terms, technology, actually, in very like precise terms, like technology is about taking human out of the picture. That's what it is, really. So, like, we want to do less work. Since the day we invented lever and fire and wheel, that technology started. And technology actually, it will be hard for me to keep pace with my slides and a lot of slides. Technology. Let me gather my PowerPoint. Okay. So technology is a way to like take a human out of the picture by doing the like stuff we do like manually. We want to do it like automatically, right? So we want to do things faster, cheaper, better. That's what we talk about. But if you go back, it was always like we want to like make the life of the human easier, and that is at the crux of all technology we built, like better experience for people, easier, faster, and also cheaper at the same time. And if you look at the progression of the technology, we were using technology when we were in the agricultural economy, then we were in the industrial economy for some time, then knowledge economy, what we were in the knowledge economy. But today, what we call our economy, our current sort of situation, is digital. We are in the digital sort of economy. Everything is getting digitized. And if you think about it, like, I'll skip that. If you think about like what has been changed by digital, with the raise of hands, like can somebody tell me like can anybody come up with a sector which is not actually impacted by the digitization? Can you stretch your mind like which industry is not getting digitized? Anybody? Yeah? Health, you said? You think it's not getting digitized? Or it needs to get digitized? Both? Alright. So I cannot come up with any, like if I stretch my mind, like from basic things like our pictures to flying planes to driving, self-driving cars, we're working on those. And even before that, we had a lot of software in the cars for the last 20 to 30 years. So we have been digitizing systems all along the way. And this thing has changed everything. Actually, in the last about 15 years, less than 15 years, if you go anywhere, like you see people not talking to each other or not, like they're always like that. Like at the train stations, at airports, like it's like people are kind of here, right? So mobile has changed everything. And then IoT is coming down the pike, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, like at a high level, like what are the industries emerging right now. So in the technology, digitization has actually changed us big time. Sometimes we don't know how much is changing us. That's the fact. We are immune to it. But if you sort of stand back and pull yourself back and see that how society is changing, it's a big change. It's one of the biggest changes our industry pundits say in the last about 200 years. So actually, the last time was that, okay. What has changed with digital technologies? Actually, what we are doing is we're changing the way we plan, build, market, sell, service, or distribute, or anything out there. It can be products, services. So you guys are smart enough. You can stretch your mind. Take any industry. The way we plan stuff, it has changed. If you go even 10 years back, and then when we build stuff. We have 3D printing, we have more like machine learning coming into the picture, and then the newer and better ways of data mining is happening to improve our existing systems. To sell, like everybody is on mobile. They're moving to mobile, for example. All the ads are coming there. Distribute, how we distribute systems. When things are digital, it's easier to distribute. They move at the speed of light, songs, movies, what you name it. Healthcare also, right? The telemedicine being practiced in some parts of the world right now. So things are changing in all these industries. And whatever gets digitized, it grows exponentially. There's a good book on this topic. It's called Exponential Organizations. It's a thin book, so it's an easy read. If you guys get that, if you can get that book, you should take a look at that. That book talks about the fact that we have evolved. Technology has evolved very quickly, but humans have not. So our organizations still think in non-exponential sort of growth. They still think that the growth is linear, so they cannot cope up with the leadership cannot like come up with like quick ideas to change their industries or companies. And you see the companies failing around us, like the companies which were leaders in some space, they just failed. For example, Kodak invented digital camera, but they couldn't produce digital cameras. They lagged behind. Canon and other guys, and they just took over, right? So sometimes these organizations can be, again, it's the people side, that people don't want to change and they just suffer from that. So, this is a famous saying, I don't know, it's an anonymous kind of saying in technology, the future is already here, it's not even distributed yet. What that means is that, what I'm trying to get to is like what technologists do out there. Like many times we actually start questioning, like, are we even making any difference in somebody's life, right? A lot of time people say, I'm sitting behind the keyboard, what difference I'm making in the world, right? You will question that from time to time. You might have already questioned that when you picked your major, right? So technologists, actually, that's what they do. They distribute the future. Like, future is already built in big research institutes. They can be private universities or public universities or even some big companies putting a lot of R&D money behind something, right? But then that thing cannot be democratized or given to everybody by that one entity, right? Especially when it's a university or a government entity, right? Most of the research, like if even the internet came from government, like it was just made for military to start with, right? So the GPS came from there, for example. So then that industry or from outside, they take that and then they commercialize it, actually, basically. Sometimes we call it democratization. So that's what we do. And if you think about it, we are changing lives. Actually, you could say that Silicon Valley, so that's why we say it in Silicon Valley, we're changing lives. Like Google, when they built the search, like we're changing lives, they said that, right? But some people doubt that. Like, you're not changing lives, you're just selling ads or something, right? But they do actually, if you think about it. Anybody sitting in a small village in Africa, anybody sitting in a small village in India has the same access to the same search or same educational videos through YouTube. What king of Saudi Arabia or somebody has, right? So there's no, it just neutralizes everything. So technology neutralizes everything, and also it reduces corruption in corrupt societies. Like, I'm from back in India, there's a lot of corruption there, I know that. So like when you digitize like land records and stuff like that, it just reduces corruption. So people who are working on those systems, programming behind the scenes and sitting in data centers, racking, stacking servers, right? They don't seem to think like they're making a difference, but they are. So I'm trying to make you feel better for picking the right majors. So that's what my purpose is. Actually, this is what I came up with. Like, I actually tweet a lot. I don't know if you guys know that, but and I try to come up with sound bites. Another thing about technology is that technology is like medicine. It's like it has side effects. So when we implement one technology, it creates problems in existing systems, and then we try to, it has side effects, right? And then we try to alleviate those side effects with a newer technology and keep on going and going and going. That's how it works. So and when you go out there, when you are, some of you guys will become decision makers, some of you guys will be like, hands-on programmers, and you will take different paths, right? Your goal is to reduce the side effects, especially when you're consuming the technology. We talk a lot about how we produce technology in our industry pundits to do that. We talk a lot less about technology consumption, what I usually call consumption economics. Because I'm an economics major, so I kind of always take my thoughts towards economics and consumption and demand patterns and price elasticity of demand, all that kind of stuff, right? So I talk in those terms when I talk to these crowds and technologies. Nice. So, and this is then and now, like what has changed in the last few years, right? So I'm keeping it very short because we don't have too much time here. So SDLC, you guys all know, as software development lifecycle, right? That has changed a lot in the last, I've been in this for 25 years. We used to do client server when I entered the field, right? And then the Web 1.0 came, Web 2.0, distributed systems. And then even within distributed systems, like we have been changing that drastically. Like the data center on the backend side, like the way we used to do dev, people were separate, right? Our product cycles were like 6 months long. Like we'll do a PRD and somebody will sign off on that, and then we'll build that for 6 months, and there will be QA happening at the same time during those 6 months, and we'll release it. And then it was like 6 months. Now that has been cut down to days, mostly weeks, sometimes even days. At Rackspace, we used to push the code to production like several times a day. The reason being because most of the software is becoming as a service. You don't get a software on a CD or a binary and install on your computer. You don't actually. You use that application as a service, like on Gmail or Salesforce and stuff like that, right? So most of the stuff is becoming as a service. Because of that, the SDLC has changed. We are doing DevOps these days, and then you guys are familiar with DevOps, right? Okay. So that's like your production cycle of the software is like just quick iterations. Another thing, what I usually say is that the difference between companies which are doing great and the ones which are not doing great, and even people, actually individuals too, is at what rate you can do the iterations, how fast you can do one iteration, right? So, or how small iteration you can conduct, right? So this is another mantra I'm still going to talk to startups all the time, is that fail fast, fail cheap, fail often. Failing is not a good thing. Normally people consider it, but we actually preach that. You should fail, but you should fail fast and cheap and often. If you fail slow, that's bad. Because if you work on something for 1 year and you fail, it's like a lot of lost time and money and effort, right? So that's the trick. So you have to make the iterations small. So SDLC has evolved. You should take a look at that, how that has evolved. When you enter the sort of job market, that will help you sort of put things in perspective. How many of you guys have landed a job already or internship?
Yeah, I'm working 2 days now.
Oh, so you were working and you.
Yeah, in IT.
Oh, that's good.
So nowadays they're shifting to business core and agile methodologies, like fast iterations, sprints for like 2 weeks, and then deliver, and then again.
Yeah. Agile, the Scrum. There's so many actually frameworks out there. Sometimes that's another thing actually I should sort of mention. Like you will see a lot of stuff out there. We used to have TOGAF and Zachman kind of stuff, like heavy duty process, like for software builders, right? For software companies or any technology companies. Like take those things and adapt to your needs. Actually, do not follow those religions, I call them, because they tell you to do all these things a certain way, and if you start doing everything they tell you, you have lost it. Actually, you shouldn't follow them like religiously. So adapt according to your needs there. So security has evolved also. Like we used to do security like separate, right? Means like software is written here, thrown to the folks in the data center operations, right? And they will make sure that firewalls are up, and we used to have big knocks in all these companies and data centers. People sitting in this sort of small rooms. It's like jail almost. So now those things have gone away. We are weaving the security from the get-go. We do a lot of log mining these days. Data mining is helping us in security. ML is going to help us in security big time. The one big thing actually I usually preach about is that we haven't even sort of scratched the surface of policy-based computing, which is like you define a policy independent of applications, but then you can apply those policies to those applications. So it's like object-oriented way of thinking. Like policies are totally separate from the applications, but they can match them or map them later at a later stage. We have started to do that. The Amazon AWS has started to do a lot of policy-based sort of bringing up the services which you use there. Like they have like hundreds of services in AWS. You guys must have seen them. Who has played with AWS or Azure here? That's good. The ones who haven't, you guys should do that because that's where the world is going, and it's free to start with, and you can start playing with it. Like I still code, by the way, because I love coding. For fun, I recently wrote an Alexa skill. I can talk to my phone and say, like, Alexa, tell me SJ's cloud tips or something like that. It talks and reads my tweets. I turn my tweets into sound using AWS services like Poly and all that stuff, right? And then it took like 2 days over the weekend to do that. It's easy stuff actually once you get out there. Another thing which I will cover later is that skills are overrated. It means like schools are overrated. I hate to say that to you guys in school, but it's like you can learn all this stuff much faster out there now because even education is under disruption, right? So you don't have to sit in classrooms for 2 or 3 years to learn programming, or seriously, you don't. You just need like 6 weeks or something like that, not more than that. You have to start doing stuff. Having said that, higher education prepares you for like systematic thinking and multidisciplinary thinking and all that stuff, which is very handy. But at the same time, if you want to build systems, you should start doing that. Like anybody from you people, like if you want to start building anything, if you have passion for that, actually, programming, if you will, right, or building systems, you should start doing that. Like even your younger brothers or sisters or nieces or nephews, you should tell them, hey, you start coding at age 6 or 7. They do that now. Kids are doing that stuff. I met a 9-year-old at AWS Vmware last year. That kid was AWS certified, 9 years old. So a lot of people are doing good stuff out there. Not to make you feel bad. So operations have changed. There's a lot of tech. Dev and ops actually used to be separate. Now we are doing those together. And then security used to be separate also. Like we used to have development and operations and security, all 3 different pillars. Then we did DevOps. Now what we are doing is DevSecOps. Like development and security and operations are under one umbrella. Because we are turning into SaaS, all these products, the teams are becoming smaller. We don't need to have all this mumbo jumbo of like all these people who are writing PRD and then they are sick for 6 months all developing the stuff. So people can like code these smaller, what we call microservices these days, like what we call 2 pizza teams. Like Amazon calls them 2 pizza teams. That's a famous kind of phrase out there. So these teams are small and they are so spitting out big systems very fast because iterations are fast. And there are so many actually other reasons behind that too, because it's easy to get access to a server today than 10 years back even. Like to get a server, it takes typically, it used to take like, I'll say 8 to 12 weeks to get a server. Now it's like 5 seconds, right? You spin up a server on AWS, you get a server. So democratization of compute has changed everything, like big time. Actually, I have a slide on that too, so I have very slow. Okay, technology procurement has changed big time also. Like we don't procure technology the way we used to. It's all like, I already talked about that, SaaS versus shrink wrap software. We get it, install it. Business models are changing also. So we actually have a lot more shared economy, what we call it these days. Like everything is becoming a service, including cars and homes and offices. You see all these companies popping up around us, and they're like the biggest car company doesn't have any cars, like which is Uber, right? That's an auto company, kind of they move you around from one place to another. They don't own any cars. So these business models are changing because of the technology. So InfoSec, we talked about, okay, a few things on high level. InfoSec is kind of very fuzzy, cozy kind of thing, right? Security whole space is kind of in that way. Because there's no way to measure it. Like InfoSec is the same thing like we think about our security, personal security. When we go out there, when we start driving car every morning, we go to office or wherever, like we are not safe. We can get hit by somebody and die or whatever, or get hurt, right? We don't know how safe we are. It's a relative sort of construct, like how safe we are. That way, what we usually call it, InfoSec is mainly a risk management sort of phenomenon. Like you have to be more secure, but how secure, nobody knows, right? So that's why there are a lot of variation within different industries and companies in different like verticals. Like some companies in like are more secure than others, right? We know that, like whose data is getting stolen. And by the way, whose data is not getting stolen? It's everybody is getting hacked. It's kind of like wild west right now. And I think it will get worse before it gets better in InfoSec. It has to be that way. Because the thing is that because we have democratized compute and all these tools and open source and all stuff, these bad people, bad actors have access to the same tools what the good actors have, right? So bad actors are actually usually smarter than the good ones. Thieves are smarter than normal people, if you do the studies. They just exploit that technology. And there are no yardsticks to measure it, right? And the main goal in systems is what I usually talk about is that your goal is to reduce the threat surface. Means like there's so many ways somebody can attack you. So your goal is to shrink that threat surface by having less out there, or whatever's out there is like stealth or well sort of contained. That's a long topic. We can talk for hours, but I'm not going to deep into that. You can read. You can actually. I will give you guys. By the way, these slides are sucky. They're all like black and white, so I'm not good at that. I took these up on my fly, so bear with me. I will give you these slides and take these terms and Google these, and then find about like what is threat server? What does that mean, right? So like you can do some more research on these things. So we talked about this, DevOps to SecOps to DevSecOps. We do that those ways. You can again take these terms and do Google and just watch a couple of YouTube videos, you'll be fine. Okay? So but these things are important when you are going into the field. So and another thing is that security is one thing, and the trust and privacy is very closely related construct to the security, right? And it is, I think, it's the biggest threat to the digital economy, like going forward. You have to have trust in systems. If your data is getting stolen from Equifax, which is #1 credit agency, especially in North America, especially in the US, their data got stolen. That means everybody's like private data got stolen. It's crazy. And all the city governments, county governments, provinces here or cities are getting hacked, and they are like paying ransomware. It's crazy. So that to actually handle that, we have been like talking about a few technologies which I will cover in a couple of minutes. But that is the biggest threat. So you need to be aware of that. Like when you go out there, like even during a interview, like we can say, what is the biggest threat to our industry? That is one. There are many which I have on the slide actually, but this is the biggest one. Okay, now we're getting into the lay of the land, if you will, typical org structures. Normally at companies, this used to be the org structure, right? There's board of directors, CEO, there's a CFO, chief revenue officer, and chief operating officer, marketing officer, chief information officer, and so forth, right? And then now actually we have introduced new roles. So the CIO's role has been changing. You should read upon that a little bit if you don't know what CIO does. It's a key role in technology. All companies actually, all companies which value technology, like I would say 90% of those companies have CIOs on staff. It's Chief Information Officer. That's what it stands for. So that these new new roles are emerging, like CDO, Chief Data Officer, some people call it Chief Digital Officer, like CISOs, Chief Information Security Officer. We never had those roles earlier. CXO, Chief Experience Officer, CSO, like that new roles are emerging. So when you go out in the field, another tip I will give you is that don't like latch on to what is being done already over the last 10 years, something like that. So try to latch on to something which is just coming up right now, right? That is because I always say that ride the waves and watch out for the dips. So like when something is going up, you want to ride that wave, and I call it leverage. That's one keyword I always use: leverage what you can. So, and these are the typical stakeholders in a business. I mean, it's not a business presentation, so I'll skip over this quickly. These are all these sort of entities in a business, and their external stakeholders. Again, if business is a system, like as I said earlier, so this is internal people, this is external, like external forces, internal forces, right? And they're like external people are important too. Actually, media is important, customers are important, like suppliers, partners. The regulators are very important for many industries, not for all. Okay, on that little tangent, tech industry is least regulated industry. Nobody regulates us. Tech industry. Google is not regulated. Facebook is not. Now we are screaming loud and clear like we need to regulate these companies, but there's no regulation. What tech companies do is they self-regulate. It's called self-regulation. And sometimes they do a good job, sometimes they mess up. Right? So keep that in mind. So that what that means is like you can go out there and break rules as a tech company. You can just do it. Like you don't have to say, okay, oh, this is the regulation there, especially in B2C. But if you're doing a healthcare related tech company, you have to think about regulation. If you're doing auto related, you have to think about regulations. There are certain industries, when you write software for those industries, you have to think about regulators. So these are the IT stakeholders, like within the company, there are like external and internal folks, and then this is IT folks. Like IT actually works with these folks. But by the way, IT is kind of a dirty word these days. Like we don't like to mention it. It's like more like it's a spread out. It's like everybody is technologist almost these days. That's what we want to see. I will actually skip over this because we are very short on time. These are typically at a company, these are the applications you will see. ERP, HCM, and stuff. Supply chain management. If you Google search all these abbreviations, you will know what these are. Technology trends. Okay. Miniaturization is happening at all levels. So this is stronger than a supercomputer of 1990s almost, like 1992 or something like that. More smarter, well connected, and those computers were dumb actually, supercomputers. Like you have to put a lot of code to make it work, right? But these things are so sophisticated. So we have miniaturized everything from silicon to code to everything. So we are miniaturizing hardware. First, for last, I would say, what 40 years, in like, if you go back in the computing industry, 30 to 40 years, we miniaturized hardware first. We focused on that. For last, 15 years or so, we have heavily focused on miniaturizing software, which I will talk a little later. Like right now, the most minute thing what we talk about is microservice, right? We never had that sort of concept. And there are reasons behind it, but that will take a long discussion, I guess. And the processes are also becoming simpler because we have these smaller systems, they can talk to each other. So the process, we can weave the process. For example, 5G, right? The newest standard networks, right? That is programmable. So that makes all these antennas programmable. So that means you can shut down this capacity here and lots of capacity over there. Like we never had that kind of stuff. So processing that process has changed. Like what kind of coverage you need in what areas. So technologies is miniaturizing. Keep that in mind. Like that is a trend or something to keep on back of your mind. So from infrastructure, we have gone from server to virtual machine, from virtual machine to containers, from containers to serverless. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with serverless, like Amazon has it, and Azure has it. Now we have some open source implementations. You can bring serverless into your data center. So that's where you don't even need a container to write code. You just write a function and put it out there, and you can turn that into web, like a REST API. It's just a matter of minutes. It's crazy fast. So productivity of developers has gone up like drastically. So for applications have gone from mainframe to client server to web to microservices. We talked about it, and processes are changing. And what that does is that the time when we produce something and when somebody uses it has shrunk, right? So that plays a big role. I'll skip over this. This is actually if you are into cloud. Take a look at this slide. If you have any questions later, you can ping me. I'll share an email and stuff like that. Right, so I will skip over. This is all cloud, pure like public cloud, like how we have changed over responsibility has shifted from who to who kind of thing, right? Okay, we talked about this. Like 6 people built a company and sold for $1 billion to Facebook, Instagram, because of democratization of technology. Because they didn't need to buy servers; they just launched a service. If it works, people come. It was B2C, right? And if people come, they just add more servers, right? It's that easy. So from weeks to seconds, infrastructure, months to days, applications. This is cloud. Cloud is nothing but it's infrastructure as code. Infrastructure has been code. And there's always zigzag. There are 3 actually components in computing and technology in our domains, right? There's compute and storage and networks. Those are the 3 things, right? But sometimes that compute takes lead, and sometimes the storage start going forward, and they're always zig and zag. They kind of go hand in hand, but networks are always the bottlenecks most of the time. They're slow, and then 5G hopefully will help us alleviate that slowness. And by the time compute will be even more faster. So in compute, actually, we have Moore's law. You must have heard of that, right? But in networks, there's no Moore's law, right? So it doesn't double in capacity every 2 years or whatever that is, right? It doesn't, it moves very slow. So lay of the land. There are companies out there when you go for looking for employment, right? The Fortune 500 companies, and that's how the market is looked upon. Fortune 2000 companies, mid-market, they're below Fortune 2000 companies, and SMBs, like small and medium businesses, and then there's startups. This glorious world of agony and common. It's pretty brutal out there. So sectors, okay, what are the sectors? Like all these companies actually fall under some sectors. Like this is just an example. So you have to keep in mind when you're thinking. Like some of you might have been like very passionate about healthcare, but you said okay, at the last minute, like oh, I just like this pays well here. Like let's go into computers or software or something like that, right? Or somebody, your friend told you, or your dad's friend or whatever, right? So, but just you haven't made the wrong decision because every company is becoming a tech company. So that's a good thing. So if you are, for example, passionate about healthcare, you can work in healthcare companies, right? Health tech, what we call it, right? So if you are passionate about education, you can talk about it or work in education technologies which advance education further, right? So these are the sectors, verticals. So when you're looking for a job, you should explore what sector you're going into. Is it dying sector or is it emerging sector, stuff like that, right? So high level breakdown of high tech. Within high tech, what are the players within high tech? So we have technology providers like Oracle, Vmware, EMC. We just call them technology providers. They are still technology providers. They're trying to move to be service providers. And then we have service providers like Amazon and Azure. Those are service providers. And other companies are trying to move to that model also. And we have, there's another thing actually, if you talk about meta platforms, I call them suckers. They suck air out of everybody's business, if you will. Those are Amazon and Microsoft. Yeah, those are 2 big guys, right? And Google is also doing the same thing. So They are meta platforms. Meta platform is like you build your platform on top of it, right? You can build Netflix on top of Amazon. It's kind of funny that Netflix competes with Amazon, but it's built on top of Amazon. They compete with them, right? So, yeah, keep in mind those meta platforms. And it's today's age of ecosystems, if you will. So you have to be part of an ecosystem. Another thing is just like in investing, right? Never fight the market. That's another tip I will give you. Never fight the market. Whatever the trend is, gotta go with it, right? You can go a little bit outside in the periphery, but don't fight it. You can't fight. Even as a company, you can't fight. Forget about individuals fighting trends, right? So don't do it. So, and then there's managed service providers, system integrators. You can look it up. We have SIs. We used to call them Big Six. They're changing roles. That's like Accenture, TCS, Tata Consultancy, all of those people. They're body shops actually. Basically, they will hire you and they'll put you at all these guys here in these sectors. They'll ship you somewhere and go do this stuff, right? Which is okay to get experience, but it's kind of not that good. Like if you want to build some good stuff, then you should work with like technology providers or service providers. That's another thing that we will talk in kind of a couple of minutes, like how the technology carriers will work. And there's ISVs and wars. You can again do some research on that. Some new key technologies: machine learning, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality. I think that's the next big thing. I have a good friend of mine, his name is Robert Scovel. He does a lot of research on that, and we talk about mostly on frequent basis. Like he thinks that that's the next big thing after the smartphones. So the way we interact with machines will change, and voice is coming up to like we can talk to systems through voice, and then VR will help us. Like we can actually operate a big bulldozer sitting in like mining some stuff in India. You're sitting in your bedroom in California. You can do that today. So I was at CES earlier, last month? Yeah, in January, and they showed all that stuff. It's crazy what's coming down the pike. Again, future is there, already there, but it's not evenly distributed. It will be. You will do that. So we have blockchain, what we call trust protocol. Like you should read upon that. That's emerging technology. It's called behind the scenes. It's like I call TCP/IP of digital world. But what TCP/IP did to the internet, this will do to the digital business world. So computer vision, like brain-machine interface, like what are you thinking? It can be translated into code. We already have that. About 10 years back at Stanford, in the Bay Area where I live, they started with the prosthetic arm. So when you think about picking up a glass or water or something, that arm will pick it up and then bring it here. 10 years back. So it has to come to the market. It hasn't come to the market. It has to be democratized, means like make it cheaper, and all these private industries will do that. Quantum computing. I spoke to a few folks at CES also, IBM quantum folks, that it's pretty cool stuff. It will not fight with the binary computers like what we usually. There are a lot of rumors out there that will break encryption and all that stuff, but it won't. But it's good stuff. You can get access to quantum computing free right now. IBM has a program. You can for example, write a hello world of quantum computing, right? If you want today. Again, on that same note we said earlier, right? You should play with the newest emerging technologies because you're just entering the market, right? Your marketability goes up, right? When you know the latest technologies, because there are only a few people who know that, right? It's always demand and supply. It's economics at the end of the day. It's economics. I have to say that. So, what else here? So I have Panda. Oh yeah, debugging. Yeah, DNA. We could actually today replace the DNA in people living. We can remove a disease. Actually, it's not FDA approved yet. There's a company in San Francisco which can take your DNA, turn that into code, and then cut cut the bad code, paste the good code there. It's like that. It's like copy paste, cut paste of humans. That's happening. Okay. So these are the business trends. We already talked about this. We'll skip it. CapEx to OpEx. And people don't want to actually spend money when they want to get something. Like when you want to write code or launch a company, you don't want to get servers and rack and stack. You just want to pay like some fee every month, and then you're happy with that, right? And cars wise, like people don't want to own the cars in bigger metro cities. They want to take Uber, for example. Like why own a car? You have to pay for insurance, parking, all that stuff, right? So that capex to opex is a big trend individually and as well as company wide. Other things we covered already, and your work is cut out for you guys. Means you will be democratizing all this stuff. What we talked about here, this stuff, that's what you will be doing for the next 15 to 20 years. At least 10 actually. So, okay. When I say your work is cut out, this slide actually should have referred to that. So there are major issues with technology sector right now. So diversity is one issue. Like diversity is not only like gender diversity or racial diversity, right? It's all kind of diversity. Like some areas of the world they don't have technology there, for example, right? It's a geographic kind of like coverage is not there. Their people are as smart as anywhere else, right? They don't have access to those facilities, ecosystems, startups, and all that stuff, right? For example, and diversity of thought, diversity of economic, poor people and rich people, people with sort of the middle income, they are working together. Like that, we need that, but we don't have that right now. So you guys need to fix that kind of problem, those kind of problems, by democratizing all this stuff, which is coming on fine. Data privacy and ethics is a huge issue. Lack of standards has always haunted us, tech industry. There are no standards. They're saying in our industry, like, if there are 2 standards, that means there's no standard. Actually, there's always like more than 2 standards. That means there's no standard, right? So like Microsoft pulls you that way, IBM comes, oh, this is my new standard. Then Google comes, or like AWS comes, it's my new standard. Then you get locked down with them, right? So that is a huge problem. Because again, tech industry is not regulated. If there were regulators, there would be standards. Like you have to do this, like you have to make cars certain way, you have to have airbag of this kind and all that stuff. Like we don't have that in tech. So lack of standards is a huge issue. Security is a huge issue. Regulators are always behind the curve. Talent shortage, like you will fill some of that, I guess, but there's always talent shortage, right? The hubs concentration, legacy is a huge issue. Cheap money is an issue, like being economists at heart, like money is very cheap these days. Like interest rates are low, you can easily borrow money, and that actually causes a lot of noise in the market with what people are building and startups and all that stuff. It just glorifies some bad stuff sometimes. So, how are we doing so far? 1 hour. You guys bored? You learning a little bit? A little bit? Yeah, good. That's good. If you're learning a little bit, that's good for me. Because I'm saying a lot here. Career tips. The base ingredient for all qualities is courage. I had to put that. It's like a very touchy-feely thing to say, but you have to be courageous to take the steps. Like, don't be like afraid of entering something like new, for example, right? Just jump in. That's actually the magic word is that just do it. Especially in computing. It's not only running, Nike came up with that, right? So just do it is the name of the game. Know yourself. And I actually, working in the industry for a long time, actually, I came up with this creators versus operators kind of concept, right? But there are people who create stuff, and there are other people who operate stuff, right? So you have to know yourself, who you are. Like some people are happy operating stuff. They just operate, some big crane or something that make tons of money, like 200,000 a year, whatever that is, right? And they're happy with that, or they are happy operating. The gamers making millions of dollars, like these gamers, you guys heard that, right? They're making millions of dollars a year. They're operating somebody's game, right? They're not trading game. So you have to know yourself, like what kind of person you are. Are you a creator? You may not know in the first like 5 or 10 years of your career, but eventually you will know when you start doing stuff. Like, am I a creator or a creator? Just know that, and know yourself. Otherwise too, like what do you value? What do you like? Do you like working at Facebook? Some people just say I don't want to work at Facebook because they don't have ethics and stuff like that. Like you have to know what you stand for, right? And another thing is early in your career, especially actually never ever, I would say, don't chase money. Don't worry about money. If you are passionate about your stuff, you should be willing to work for free. It's not legal in these countries to work for free, but people will pay you. But you should sacrifice the monetary stuff to do the stuff you like. And that works all the time. People, it's a cliche thing to say, but it works. Believe me, it just works. I've seen it. I've seen people when they chase money, they never get it most of the time. Even if they get it, they're miserable. You have to chase what you like. Chase your dream, whatever you like. Within your constraints, of course. Like we all have constraints. Sometimes we have to earn money, or just financial situation may dictate some things. But always push towards that. So when you are looking for jobs, like shortlist the sectors you want to go in, the verticals, right? The companies you like, you want to target those companies. Regions you want to be in, like you want to live here versus Toronto or San Francisco, across the border, right? Or any of New York, like you just pick, like you just come up with that plan. Vertical, that last one is an important one. It's kind of very ambiguous thing to say vertical versus horizontal. Tech careers are funny in a way. You can be a programmer or systems engineer or security engineer in one domain, in one vertical, in healthcare, for example, right? So, and you can stay in that vertical for all your career. You will be expert in that, right? People say like, this person knows healthcare security inside out, right? That's one way to conduct your career. The other way is you're a security expert, very good security expert, but within that, like a subdomain, just maybe machine learning and security, right? Just that. But then you can go horizontal. You don't specialize in healthcare, you specialize in that technology thing, not the business domain. The funny thing is that when you will write software or systems or whatever, like you pick, right? Or be decision makers, you will learn the business domain. If you're not industry, you need to learn how cars are built and how they're shipped and all that stuff. You have to know a little bit about that. Otherwise, like you're just not doing a good job. So in healthcare, you have to know that. Like for example, in my career, I always worked with technology providers. I was always a technology guy, with one exception. At Visa, we wrote technology for ourselves, or we would buy technology from others. So that was the only company where I worked where it was not technology provider actually. And now actually these days it throws me out sometimes. Like, where should I focus? Like for the next 10 years, like what should I talk about? Like as a provider of the technology, like what we should do, what technology companies should do, or what the consumers should do. So, but always keep in mind that you will fight that within yourself. Like what I want to do, like do I want to go into that healthcare? I have an offer from there, or opportunity there, or auto, or my gaming company, whatever, right? So horizontal versus vertical, keep that in mind. Actually leverage whatever you have. Your institution, your university, if they have a program, they will make introduction to some companies and all that stuff, leverage that. Leverage mentors and connections. There's a lot of help out there. Learn how to ask, actually. Asking is not a bad thing. It's a great thing, actually. People want to help people. If I come to you at who's standing out there. If I come to you and ask for directions, you will help me. You will like say, oh, take left, take right. You will spend some time on that. We are wired to help. So always help, ask for like advice or like how should I do this from your professors, from industry leaders, and I will talk about that later. Like be on these social media platforms. Twitter is a great place to be if you want to know what's happening out there and you connect with people. You can ask questions on Twitter and people will answer that. So you can actually talk to the CEO of Microsoft and ask a question and they will most probably answer. If they know somebody is monitoring that, they will answer that question. They will not pick up the phone, but Twitter will. For example, if you miss a flight these days, what most of us do is tweet. We get the first priority. That they have a separate line for people who are tweeting. Seriously. They say, oh, what's happening? Because it's the brand gets diluted. Because it's in public, right? Like, because when you call, it's all hidden behind the scenes. Nobody knows who called and who yelled at who, right? But on Twitter, everybody sees everything. They can't yell at you. They have to be nice and they have to fix the problem quickly, right? So be there. Strengths. Actually, work on your strengths. Don't try to fix your weaknesses. That's a proven thing out there. Like sometimes you say, oh, I have this weakness, I'm going to focus on 80% energy there. No. Focus on your strengths and make those and leverage your strengths actually in this case. And leverage your location, proximity to any employment centers and all that. You're close to Toronto here, you have some local industry here, across the pond, you have some stuff, right? So location is important too. Another thing is like I was telling you, like which I suffer from this too, is curse of knowledge. Once you know something, you don't want to give up. You want to do that same thing. Like, oh, I have spent like 20 years on this. I don't want to give up. I don't want to change, right? That can hold you back. So you can start pivoting gradually if you have to, right? Sometimes you have to because industry is dying or you're not having fun anymore. So you can change. So that's and what brought you here will not take you there. There's a famous saying here. So that's really true. What brought you to these classrooms and get this education will not take you there. It will not excel your career. You have to have a different skill and adapt and be more people persons and be out there, right? So again, I said earlier, skills are overrated because skills like how do I launch WebLogic web server? Just Google it, right? Like you have the template, you have code. We don't actually write code from scratch at all. We go to Stack Overflow and copy paste that snippet and run a new web service within minutes. So I wrote that Alexa skill, 2 days. I copy pasted a lot of code from some other places, right? So that skills are overrated. What is not overrated right now is your communication skills. Like how do you communicate? How do you talk? How do you share? How do you lift up other people around you? How do you ask? How do you tell? All those things they cannot be overrated ever, I think. Because that's what will put you on a different track than other people around you. This is another saying thing. When there's a fork in the road, take it. Means like don't just stand there and not make a decision. Just make a decision and move on. Perfectionism, I have figured out myself, is a handicap. Don't be perfectionist. Just start doing it. You will suck at things in the beginning. You will be bad at it, but that's fine. Like you should be not discouraged by when you're bad at it. Don't be like concerned about looking at like a fool. Oh yeah, this person doesn't know. I just like people will make fun of you. They can't, right? There's a good book on this. Daring greatly. That lady talks about like she said, embrace the suck. It means like embrace that moment when you suck at something. You just live with it and be happy about it. Actually, be willing to fail. Be happy to fail. Growth and comfort are enemies. Like go outside of your comfort zone. Do side gigs. Be a tech athlete. There's one guy, John. He runs like what we call it, ESPN of Tech. They have live shows like from all these events. When you go there, it's like you can watch them. Like it's called Silicon Angle. right? Google at Silicon Valley, you will see all those videos from all the latest technology and leaders talking about it. He talks about like be a tech athlete. Every morning, build your tech muscles. Like just you are an athlete. You're like a basketball player, right? Like okay, what is the utility? This Gary Vee talks about it. What's the utility of basketball to you? Right? Basketball is like $10, $20, right? But for LeBron James, that is like what $200 million a year, whatever that is, right? This laptop is like what $800. You could write Facebook with this and like $100 billion, $200 billion, whatever that company is. Its tools are just tools. Technology is just tools. You have to use your creativity, right? Be a tech athlete means like just build those muscles all the time. Don't stick with just tools. This is a famous saying, funny saying is that a fool with a tool is still a fool. So yeah. So tools are just tools. Be in the periphery. Like when you work in any industry, know about the surroundings, what's around you, right? Which we normally do. When we walk out there, we actually pay attention to like, oh, the car's gonna hit me or something. Like when you are conducting your career, you should be watching out for things around you. What's coming down the pike, what other industries emerging, is this industry dying, all that stuff. Cross-disciplinary learning is huge. Like you learn about economics, politics, all kinds of arts. There are a bunch of careers in technology which are not coders or not technology people at all. Google's hiring anthropologists and historians and stuff like that. They want to know how crowds behave and all that stuff, right? So yeah, we need, like, when you talk to your friends who have different majors, tell them that they can apply at these tech companies. There are a lot of careers, like marketing, actually, for example, is not purely tech. So marketers, we need a lot of marketers in tech, for example. And another thing is, don't underestimate marketing. In the beginning, when I started my career, I always thought marketers are bullshitters, right? They just tell you like some stories and say, buy my stuff, and it's like they lie to you. But now that's not true. Good marketing is like education. So they educate the market, like what we do and how we do it. And you are a brand. Keep that in mind. You have to build your own brand in today's economy and situation. People know you out there. When people Google your name, what comes up? Try doing that. Let's see what comes up. So, are you there? Like, can people see you? So, if you're there, people say, "Oh yeah, this person is doing this, right?" So, do that. We talked about this: horizontal versus vertical careers in technology, working in a tech industry versus working in other things, right? But I love the game, not the trophies. That's another big tip I'll give you. Like, have fun while you're working in your industry, right? Don't just look for like, okay, I'm going to make this much money or something like that. Like, just, you gotta love the game. If you don't love it, just leave. Do something else. Because you will suck at it, and you will not make money, and you will be miserable. So, you have to love the game. Have fun. And these are some references. That first book, 10 Types of Innovation, is a pretty good book. It talks about like technology is one type of innovation with technology. This business model is all kind of different sort of ways to innovate. Consumption Economics is a book, talks about how technology is changing, how we do stuff out there in all industries. There are some other like less recommended. That's what I meant by that. And there's a lot of media out there, YouTube stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. Like when you, the Simon Sinek guy and these two guys are like put a lot of stuff out there. Simon Sinek talks about like why is more important, how and what. That's a fascinating talk. It's a TED talk. 20 minutes of your time can change your life, I think. So blogs at A16Z from Bay Area, they are a VC firm. They put their best research. Like they spend billions of dollars on these startups. Like where, if you want to know where the future is going, know where the money is going. And the VCs know where the money is going. So they put a lot of stuff there, right? Yeah. Be on Twitter. Yeah. Bloomberg Technologies has a good show airs every day, on weekday, and it talks about the latest tech trends and not trends actually, technology news, but it's something if you have some time. You can. Charlie Rose used to have a show like talk to the luminaries in different disciplines. Like he stopped his show. He got hit by Me Too movement. I hated that. I liked the guy, but he did the bad thing, I guess. So that show got stalled, and he still has a lot of stuff up there. I will share the. And by the way, if you have any question, comments, you can pick my brain offline here later. Just best way to get my attention is Twitter. If you don't have that account, LinkedIn. If you don't have that, good luck to you. Reaching me. I don't know. Like no, actually, it has my contact information. She will share my phone also if you need that. So actually, Silicon Valley. Okay, skip it. QA. Like if you want to know about how Silicon Valley works, because I've been there for 25 years, I can talk about that. Startups. So give me some questions. Like any questions, good question. No questions.
What does an average day in life of a cybersecurity professional? Just for
Yeah. I would tell you, I'm not a cybersecurity specialist, right? So, but I know a bunch. They are like any other techie out there. They have certain stream of works, like they are looking at threat matrix and they audit and they are using again software to monitor other software, right? So the day looks like meetings, but 30%, maybe more for them, maybe 30 to 40% in meetings, planning and all that stuff, and then about 25 to 30% like behind the keyboard, and then rest is like just learning new stuff.
programming?
Huh?
Is it programming?
Yeah, they do. They do. Like, depends. Like what? It's a vast field, by the way. Security is huge. So you're writing code. Like if you are working at RSA is a security company, right? You're writing code to secure other people's systems, for example. If you're just in-house, even then you're writing code because infrastructure has become code, right? So when you are bringing up all these servers on AWS or Google Cloud, you want to block all the ports, and like by default they are. You want to make sure the firewalls are up and running, and you are writing code to do all that stuff. You cannot avoid writing code, guys. Like actually, in future, you cannot avoid writing code, even if you are if you're a teacher. Like, I think you teachers will write code. Like what we actually, I did that tweet a couple days back. I think like what reading did for us, reading and writing in last I think 200, 300 years. That's what coding will do for us for the next 200 years. It's like reading and writing. Actually, another thing is like tell your friends that like who are not coding or not in tech, like you don't want to know how to code because you want to code. You want to learn to code because it changes your mindset, like how you think. It changes your mindset. Okay. By the way, it's a myth. Don't quote me on this. The Indians and Russians are best programmers. You know why? Because Indians are like what we call jugaad in India, right?
Yes.
Right? So like we hack, right? We see all kind of machinery in India, like there's an engine sitting on a flat bed, like just moving like 20 people in the village, stuff like that. We are hackers, and software is all hacking because there are no regulations. You're just hacking new stuff every day. You're coding.
So like there's no answer like just a specific question to this one. Like, since I have 3 years experience, I did specifically programming now. So what kind of suggestions do you have for me? I was looking in TCS. I was looking in TCS, financial services, stock market, those kind of things, programming.
What's your question again?
So what kind of recommendations do you have?
You can. Basically, it's not a hard route because cybersecurity. The thing is, like, another thing is I think we put down top topics and we can pick it up. George sort of suggested me to cover that, but my bad. On the flight I forgot about that topic. I didn't put that slide in there. And there's a big gap between what we teach at universities and what we practice out there, right? So we're still teaching in universities, like stuff is like 5+ year, most of the time, not all the time, most of the time. But good universities like Stanford and MIT, those are the best ones for tech. In US, for example, in India, MIT, and MIT too. I'm losing my mind. I'm just in US for a long time. So they actually go hand in hand with industry, and sometimes more forward than industry. Like most of the Bay Area companies, like Google, Facebook actually came from East Coast. Twitter, all these guys, they were at Stanford. And Stanford professors are part of these companies, and they're big shareholders, right? They teach and they build stuff at the same time. So yeah, they are very close to industry. And then the more remote you are, more away you are from industry, because proximity matters. Like why Bay Area is that? Why Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley? Because people are there. Like when we go to the coffee shops and all this stuff, we talk about technology. I refer to my neighbors as that's Oracle, that's Twitter, that's NetApp, that. Like I don't know their names. I said, what that? I know their name for the companies kind of thing. So like everybody's in tech. When everybody's there, so you talk about it, and then so to answer your question, shift is not that hard, but it's made to look hard by our industry pundits. Anybody else questions? Come on, guys, you should have some questions. You must have some questions. Don't be shy.
What are your thoughts about virtual reality?
Yeah. As I said earlier, VR is going to change the way we interact with machines, right? It's not there yet. I wasted $1,500 on Google Glass a few years back. It was didn't work. I wrote some code for it too, but it's not there yet. So the thing is with all technology is that the name of the game is convergence. Like it's never one technology which makes that technology fly. It's the other technologies when they come together, then it starts flying. For VR to work, we need faster networks, right? Because the VR, the video and all that stuff is very heavy duty, right? And the biggest problem with the VR right now is that you have to be tethered to the PC if you want good experience. Like they have non-tethered glasses, stuff like that now. I looked at Microsoft HoloLens a couple of months back in San Fran. They are non-tethered, but that speed is not there. That experience is not there. So we have to miniaturize it more. Right now, it blocks your view. The industry is trying to create the glasses where it doesn't block your view. You can see through. Well, they're putting actually camera here so you can see what's going on the other end. They're still blocked, but there's a camera to see. You can switch to the view. So there are quite a few limitations, but I think in about the next 5 to 10 years it will take off. That's what that guy who just does a lot of research he thinks, and I believe that's true.
Can you give some brief knowledge on startups, like how to go about starting some startup? As being a fresher, I don't have any work experience right now, and after completing my master's, I find it a little difficult to find some job.
Mm-hmm.
And some people in the competition pool are like they have 5 works of work experience or something like that. So it makes me a fear that how will I get a job opportunity and how to find my stuff right in the industry. So can you brief me about that? Like how to make a niche market out of the global perspective so that I can go into my initial field and start my job.
Are you asking the question like how do you join a startup or how you start a startup? Start. Yeah. So starting a startup is most of the time the most successful startups are started by the people who had that problem themselves. They would try to solve the problem they had themselves. Most of them, not all. So, and many times, actually, I think maybe 60 to 70% of the time, when you start building something, you will end up building something else, not the one thing you started. So, startups are more like experimentation. The thing with startups is that you have to be willing to live without money for at least 3 years, right? It takes, but on average, 3 years for you to know if your idea will fly or not. There are a few exceptions to that rule, which is B2C. In B2C, something can start flying, like WhatsApp. Actually, WhatsApp was one example. What's that new app? TikTok, right? So like that can start flying like within a year or 6 months or something. But those are anomalies. They are not normal things. So most of the time, another thing is, I have so much here coming. Like I cannot channel my thoughts. B2C startups are totally different than B2B startups. That's what I'm trying to say. So in B2C startups, the way you launch a product is totally different, right? Go-to-market strategy is totally different. Building is almost the same, actually. How you sell to B2B, you need to know a customer, like a business to sell to. In B2C, you can tell your friends, hey, try this thing, try it, you can add it to your follow better, whatever that is, a B2C, right? But then you can't do that with B2B, right? So it depends what you want to do, but start experimenting, right? Get to know some like-minded people, always ask, pick people's brains, do some research, right? And then it's hard for a lone one person to get funding. That's very hard. And startups mainly are but two things: team and timing. That's how we invest in startups. So our incubator invests in those startups. So it's team and timing. Nothing. I mean, everything else is below that. So I think it's even more. Team is even more important than timing. Some people say timing is more important. I think team is more important because if team is good, they can time the product according to what market wants right now, right? But if the team is bad, timing is good, you can't do it, right? And it is like walking on fire kind of thing. Believe me, it's like it's like chewing glass. Like you will have like all these nightmares. Oh my God, I don't have money. What am I doing? Like all this, you sweat. When you're sitting down. Sometimes it happens. But it's fun. You have to stick to it. Tenacity is the number one, like individual quality to start. Stick with it, and be willing to pivot if it doesn't work. Like go do something in the same domain but a little different, right? And you have to do a level of design thinking, what we call, like you do something and it doesn't work, tweak it. Do something, doesn't work, tweak it, right? So like quick iterations in the beginning talked about. You are as small as your iterations are.
Will you see latest technology invention or the application of that technology while investing if you are deciding what will you
Okay. It's mainly, it's always, investing is always market. Most, 99.9% is about market size. Like how big is the market? That, when we look at investors, like investor slides, what we call it, pitches. So we help startups to build the pitches to get more money from investors, right? So you have to know your market size. How big is the market? Is it 10 billion or 100 billion, for example, right? So that matters. But at the same time, it has to, like, again, the convergence, right? You have to make sure that technology you're picking is going to serve that market. And if you build something like where if somebody has to, like, it solve your problem, like a minor problem, and you have to buy $500 headset, like, that's not a good start, right? For example. So is it consumable by masses? Like, so sometimes people build stuff and people build stuff and then wait for people to come. That doesn't work. You have to be like hand in hand with the customers who are going to use those products or services. You have to be very close to them. So that's why B2C companies if you notice that successful ones, they were launched at the university campuses most of the time. Because it's a very well contained environment. They kind of build MVP, what we call it, minimum viable product there, and then they take it to the next university, and then the next one, and then maybe to a metro area or something like that. So they just gradually expand that. But B2B is totally different. You need to have more partnership and alliances, and like it's totally different world actually. B2B is different. But yeah, we can talk offline also if there's more questions there. Go ahead.
So, Sarbjeet, this is Jazz. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
I'm actually not a student, but I'm just following Sarbjeet and sitting here. I came here 20 years ago at Wayne State, just like you guys from India. A couple things that really I took note, and then thank you, Sarbjeet, for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is ask. I ask for direction when I enter here in this room. Everybody is willing to share. This is the place you can go. And I've been asking all my life about guys like Sarbjeet and other people, and people are so willing to come. All you have to just do is ask. That's one. Second thing is, which is really gonna resonate today for me, was what brought you here will not take you to the next step. So you gotta always be iterating yourself and then going to the next step. The third is journeys. I mean, for most of you guys, like I came with the same dream back 20 years ago. Wayne State, like what's going to happen to me? I couldn't even speak English properly. But the thing is, you keep on learning, you keep on moving to the next step. So, really, I don't know how you came up here and then giving the speech, but this means a lot, especially guys like me. I'm sitting 20 years ago, somebody was there just like you giving those speeches, and it changed my life. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming over. Yeah, actually, he came to talk, just meet me. I do the same thing. Sometimes I know somebody is in London and then they are presenting somewhere. They have 1 hour for me because of the people I want to talk to. I just buy a ticket and go there. I do it. Like I know you guys are students, you can't do that, but you can go like on Twitter. You can ping anybody. And you say, hey, can you help me with this? Right? You can ping anybody, right? So. And again, on the same note, like people who helped me were my teachers mostly. One English teacher from here College Floor changed my life in many ways, and then one head of department economics, culture college. I've studied there, culture college. So he used to bring his World Bank advisors and IMF people to talk. And those people, he brought those people who were Punjabis to relate to people, right? We are very diverse in these countries, that's good. But like he always helped the people from smaller towns, villages, right? He will always say like, "You're shari and party, but you need help." Sorry for speaking Punjabi for a minute. That like all these people from cities, they're going to study anyways, right? Their house is like 5 months. Like not 5 minutes, 1 mile away from college, or 2 miles, but you come like 2.5 hours one way. That was my bus route. 2.5 hours to go to college, and then 2.5 hours to go back. 5 hours on the bus, and it's all study people and just like can't study, right? So it takes that, and then I used to study with I don't know if you guys, your parents tell you guys that there was electricity was like blessing or something. So like it would go off, especially in summertime. Like there's a candle and you're studying math, all these problems. I did math and economics in bachelor's. Right? So and you're studying at 2 or 3 a.m. and then with candle. And then there's all these mosquitoes and stuff like they come to candle and it takes that actually. It takes a lot of effort. But you have to love the game, you have to love it. Actually, you have to know the driver. Like, what drives you? What drives you? I don't know. It can be for some people, it can be money, it can be taking your mom out of situation, or dad, or your family, or it can be show the people, like, I want to show the world I can do this stuff. You need to know your driver. You all have it. You have to curate it. You have to work on it. Like, without driver, it's hard to work that hard, I guess. Makes sense. Yes.
So we are from the women's health support, right? So I have a generation you have been working in this industry for 25 years. So how much you have changed this understanding? Were there more women before or now? How it's going? Do you have any comments on it?
Yeah, if you read the history, there were a lot more women. Like there was more equality in the beginning when the computing just started. Actually, the word computer these ladies who work with these all big mainframes and all that stuff, they were called computers. Like their role was computers. They used to compute stuff and all the punch cards and stuff. I read some history on that. So the industry funders say that there was more equality early on, but then things changed. Like for last about I think 20 years or so, like the gap has it was widening. For the last 5 years or so, I think there's a lot of banter around it. A lot of people are talking about it. So I think things are changing. I see some good programmers like they're girls, right? Ladies. And there's a stereotype. Like the stereotypes are there for sure, right? There's age discrimination in tech, big time. Okay, that's not the tip. You don't need that right now for the next 20 years, 30 years. But when you change your career, just make sure you are taking steps to, like, say, okay, if you're a programmer, you're like, 60 years old, or 50 or 40, even 45, like, okay, people say, I can hire a cheaper programmer, and they maybe know Node.js, they know Node.js, or you don't, right? For example, right? And then your market really goes on. So you have to grow with your career, stuff like. To answer your question, I think things are changing. That organization like Black Girl Code, and I support them whenever I can, tweeting for them or just going to their events. I am very passionate about helping people of Spanish origin, like from Mexico. A lot of our number 2 population in the US is Mexicans, right? Or they speak Spanish, right? And they are totally ignored by tech. You will hardly see a programmer who's from that community, right? And blacks are also that way a little bit, like less people there, but that's because they're more like Punjabis, to be honest with you. Like the ones who are educated, they're freaking like good, they're good like crazy. The most are not, but the ones who are good, they're freaking good. So it's the cultural aspects to all these stereotypes also, I think women are increasing, and thanks to you guys. You are a role model for a lot of people, and we talked earlier, like you should tweet, you should put words out there, you should go to high school, talk to those kids, elementary schools even these days.
So there's I'm from Michigan, so there's a organization called MCWT, so it's Michigan Council for Women in Technology. So I've been volunteering. I have 2 daughters. I have vested interest to make sure that they came into technology. There's a huge gender gap, but the MCWT is like really, really trying to push hard as early as middle school to like encourage girls to start getting into the technology side. And they have an awesome program for like, as a girl, if you are in technology, you apply for internship across the pond, across the river. They're very, very, they have scholarship, they have all sort of programs. Not only like they're encouraging girls, but once you're in the industry, they want to elevate into leadership positions. So there's like pretty well, focused campaign going on. So I don't know, there's nothing of that sort in Windsor, but if you guys are not that far, come check it out, what's going on the other side.
And you actually, yes, that's a good point. And then you can start similar programs or organizations wherever you are, wherever you go, and support them. Like I always tell like males, us, like we need to support them a lot more. And then women in tech, there's always hashtag out there, right? So that doesn't mean that women only need to fix that problem. I think men can play a big role in that too. So they do. Like I go to women in tech conferences and stuff like that. I'm like one of the anomalies, like 10 people, 10 males, but I'm there to show the sport, right? So I have 2 daughters too. By the way, they don't like tech. we do. And I think it has a lot to do with how we raise kids, right? What kind of toys we buy them, what kind of clothes they wear, and all this stuff, stereotypes, they start from early on, right? And also sometimes it's also like how your mind works. This thing is very complex, so some people gravitate towards something and others, right? So, but as a parent, like when you become parents, try to not treat girls like, oh, you can't play over there, so this is now your job, or buy them a kitchen when they're just 2 years old. Don't do that. And that's it. Thank you guys, I enjoyed it. I hope it helped you a little bit, and keep in touch. I'm out there. I will answer any of your questions. You can call me, tweet me. When you tweet me, you can DM me, then I will give you my phone number. So you have to put some effort into it.
So we would like to thank Sarbjeet for having such an amazing talk. I hope all of you have enjoyed, and at least each one of you is now more motivated to pursue your dreams in your future careers, either it could be in terms of internships, in terms of having startups, or anything that you would like to pursue. So on behalf of WiCyS Windsor, once again, thank you so much for being here and making this event a success. So now in the last, on behalf of School of Computer Science and WiCyS Windsor, we would like to present a small token of appreciation to our guests. Thank you.
Thank you guys. And good luck to you guys.
Thank you.